What is the SIOP model? The Sheltered Instruction Observation Protocol SIOP model is a research-based and validated instructional model that has proven effective in addressing the academic needs of English learners, this in the United States. And the SIOP model consists of 8 components, which are lesson preparation, building background, comprehensible input, strategies, interactions, practice and application, lesson delivery, and finally review and assessment. Preparation. This component talks about how the teacher stated content and language objectives, about supplementary materials, and about meaningful activities carried out. Building background. This component talks about how the teacher links the concepts to the student's background experience. It also talks about how links between past learning and new concepts were made, and finally talks about how key vocabulary was emphasized. Comprehensible input. This component talks about how the teacher explained the academic task, and also talks about the techniques she or he used to make content clear. Strategies. This component talks about the opportunities students had to use strategies, which are cognition, metacognition, and socio-affectivity. It also talks about the use of scaffolding techniques to assist and support students' understanding. And finally, how the teacher asked the questions to promote the higher order thinking skills. Interaction. This component talks about how the teacher engaged students in discussions, how he or she encouraged his or her students to give elaborate responses, something more than yes or no, and also talk about how the teacher waited for students to answer. Practice and application. This component talks about how the teacher provided hands-on materials and/or manipulatives to practice content. It also talks about how students applied content and language knowledge. And finally, how the activities integrated all language skills, which are listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Lesson delivery. This component talks about how the objectives of content and language were supported through the lesson. It also talks about how students were engaged in the lesson. And finally, how appropriate the class passing was. Review and assessment. This component talks about how the teacher determined how well students have understood and have retained key vocabulary and content concepts, and it also includes, of course, an assessment of lesson objectives.